The chill winds continue to blow across the arts sector. During coronavirus, they were devastated. At the time, the artistic director of Opera Australia, Lyndon Terracini, said, and I quote, "While governments are now loading up our children, and most likely our children's children, with massive amounts of debt, one of the consequences is that governments will be resistant to using their reduced financial resources to support new generations of artists." Unquote. He asked at the time, what does this mean for the cultural life of our future nation? He said, many young and emerging artists will have no possibility of earning a living from their art. They're naturally talented. They've spent most of their lives practicing and developing their art. Their training has been more intensive and more difficult than virtually any other profession, but now, sadly, he said, they see no future. They've devoted their lives, their entire beings, to their chosen profession, and now most of them will have no choice but to retrain. They'll need to forget their dream, a dream they've lived with for most of their lives. Unquote. Well, as their voices were being silenced by the economic devastation of COVID, Lyndon Terracini was almost a lone voice in the defence of the arts. He made the point, without pumping up his own tyres, that Opera Australia is a flagship company. And in the year before COVID, there were 662,000 attendees and the company sold 540,000 tickets. It is the only major opera company in the world for which more than 50% of its revenue comes from the box office. And in the year before COVID, they employed 1,323 artists. I say this because very little attention has been given to the fact that the artistic director, the extraordinary Lyndon Terracini, with over a year to go on his contract renewed by the board of Opera Australia in 2019, extending the contract to 2023 because of his accomplishments, Lyndon Terracini is now quitting immediately. I think the new chairman of the board, a good man, Rod Sims, formerly the boss of the ACCC, needs to start asking some questions. The previous chairman, Glyn Davis, has left. The outstanding technical director, Cliff Bothwell, has left. The marketing boss, Kent Heffernan, has left. And this after a new chief executive arrived last year, Fiona Allen. She arrived with a lot of noise. There was talk of a new broom sweeping into Opera Australia. I don't know what it was meant to sweep. She was looking at Opera Australia's business model. Seemed to be okay to me. And she wanted to, quote, refashion the company's operating model and, quote, put more of an Australian stamp on what is essentially a European art form. She said that her role was to set Opera Australia's overall strategy in consultation with the board. Well, the strategy appears to be making it difficult for talented people to remain. Musically, she studied the clarinet, that was about it. She said she wanted to be an arts manager. Terracini, on the other hand, was born into music and is coming to Opera Australia, the nation's biggest performing arts company and one of the world's biggest opera companies. Terracini's coming was transformative. One wonders how anyone else could have rebuilt Opera Australia after the devastation of coronavirus.